This is Bob Ambrogi, and in each sponsored episode of Law Next PR, I interview a legal tech company about its latest news and developments. Today, we're talking about just released news from Spellbook, a company whose product provides a suite of AI tools for transactional lawyers. Joining me to tell us all about the news is Scott Stevenson, Spellbook's CEO and co-founder. Scott, welcome.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
I want to talk about the news that you've just announced this morning, but before we even do that, for anybody watching, listening who might not be familiar with Spellbook, why don't you give us the quick description of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Spellbook. We launched one of the first Gen AI tools for lawyers over 3 years ago now. It's a co-pilot for contract drafting and review. So we go really, really deep on transactional work, particularly contract review and drafting. And we've launched a lot of functionality over the years, and excited to tell you about our library functionality that we just launched today. I guess a little bit more background. We have around 3,400 law firms and in-house counsel teams on board today. The number one thing we're used for is really contract review and modification. So typically lawyers are using us not to draft something from scratch, but to take, someone else's paper or their own paper or precedent from a past deal and to really massage it to make it appropriate for a new deal, or to negotiate, against a counterparty. So Spellbook uses generative AI to accomplish that, provide suggestions for lawyers and to help them find clauses or language that are going to help them adjust the contract they're looking at to get it to where they want.
So today you've announced the launch of this Spellbook library in Spellbook. What is it? Tell us what it does, what it's about.
Yeah. So since we launched Spellbook, there's probably one most consistent piece of feedback we have heard from lawyers, and that has been, I wish AI just sounded more like me. I wish it understood my style, how I draft, how I review. Everyone can kind of tell when something is drafted by ChatGPT. Everyone kind of knows the voice and tone of it. So literally for 3 years, we've heard from customers like, I really want AI that sounds like me, that drafts like me, that uses my language, that uses my firm's approved language. And we've been working on that problem actually pretty hard most of that time. And it's been difficult to solve. I think there's been some technological advancements that have enabled it to be solved pretty well. But our solution is library. So what library does is it allows a lawyer to synchronize their whole deal history so that we can have a live synced version of all the deals a lawyer has ever done. We kind of intelligently parse it to understand like what jurisdiction is this in, what industry is it in, what's the deal size, things like that. And then we're building a lot of different things on top of library and on top of this context and intelligence. But the big first thing we launched today is smart clause drafting. So when a lawyer is working on a current deal, they need to find a clause or a deal terms that are going to, adjust the agreement they're working on in a certain direction. They can use Spellbook to draft that clause based on all of their previous work. And Spellbook will actually, when it does that search to find appropriate clauses, it's going to look at the most similar deals that they've done in the past, how frequently they've used this language in the past versus other language, and try to provide kind of this prioritized list of past source clauses. And then not only that, it's going to take those source clauses and then kind of massage them to fit into the current deal. So maybe you have to change around defined terms. Maybe the section headings and numbering has to be massaged a little bit. So we'll help them find that clause from a past document that's really similar, and then we'll help them massage it to fit it into the current deal. So really maintaining how they like to draft, their trusted language, and being able to kind of trace exactly where everything came from. So we're really excited about that. And we're also building a lot of new things on top of library going forward. So we're going to be launching a contract review that is informed by your library and past preferences, benchmarking based on your library. So if you have, 1,000 NDAs you've signed before, you'll actually be able to set up a benchmark to say, here's what my average NDA looks like. Here's what more aggressive looks like. Here's what less aggressive looks like. So we're really over the next six to 10 months, Spellbook is going to focus a lot on this sort of personalization in contract drafting and review. And we think this is like a pretty big shift that's happening in AI overall, which I'm sure you've seen.
So with the smart clause drafting, I guess it's obvious from the description you just gave and also from the name, but is this most useful in the initial drafting stage, or can it also be used in the review stage? And I hear you saying you're going to be coming out with a review tool as well. But given for what you're launching today, how is it best used?
Really in both. So if you receive something from a counterparty and you want to adjust it to put in kind of a clause that would be more preferred by you, or you see an issue that you want to fix, you could use smart clause drafting for that. But also, yeah, if you're spinning up something new, you pull some past precedent, you need to massage it for the current deal, the deal facts or deal points of the current deal, and you can use it in that case too. We don't use it so much for like drafting from scratch. So Spellbook customers tend to be really focused on taking some known precedent and then massaging it or modifying it versus, say, in litigation, you're doing more kind of drafting from scratch types of things.
So you're going to start with a precedent. You've done this deal before, and you've got some version of a contract that you're going to work off of. So if I'm working in Word and I put in a search for a severance clause or something, I'm not a contract lawyer, obviously. So what happens? How does it?
Yeah, so first you search with plain language. So it's not like searching Google, it's a semantic search. So you might have a lot of things you're looking for. Maybe you want, a late payment clause from an MSA where it's annual deal terms, or I don't know. There might be a bunch of attributes you're looking for. You can just use plain language to find the type of clause that you're looking for. And then you can also filter. So we have a lot of different filters. You can choose, which libraries you want to include in the search, which jurisdictions, which industries, deal sizes, all of these different attributes you can use to kind of filter your search down. And then sort of the magic is that we'll try to find the docs that are most similar to the one that you're working on. So we'll compare this document to all the other documents in your search, find the most similar ones, and then bubble up clauses that are kind of going to be closer to fitting like a glove into what you're doing. And then we'll also prioritize it. So we'll return a whole bunch of clauses, and then you can pick which one you want to start from. And then we'll use AI to kind of, again, modify it further to fit your deal.
You'll modify it to match what the terminology, the style of the contract you're working on, or
Yeah, exactly. Defined terms are a big thing. So the defined terms might be slightly different. We can fix that for you automatically. Yeah, section numbering, headings, sometimes even just voice and tone. There might be a slightly different kind of style in the deal that you're working on that you want to match. So we can do all of that automatically for you. Not all of it. You're still gonna have to do some manual massage for sure, and lawyers will always do that. But we can do a lot of the heavy lifting.
where does this deal history live that you're searching against?
Yeah.
Where are all these prior agreements? Yeah.
Yeah. So lawyers can synchronize them from a variety of places. I mean, they can literally just drop thousands of files in if they want to do that. They can also
Into Spellbook.
into Spellbook, yeah.
Yeah.
They can integrate like OneDrive and SharePoint. So if they want to synchronize a folder from, say, their Microsoft storage, they can do that. We also integrate with Dropbox. We service a lot of small and mid-sized firms. So a lot of these firms aren't necessarily using a DMS system. They're often using, Google Drive, OneDrive, or SharePoint, or something like that. So we integrate with all of those different file storage providers and allow you to kind of synchronize live. So your full deal history is stored. It's encrypted. We don't have access. It is able to be searched in a really secure and privacy-friendly way for our customers.
Yeah. Do you see this at some point as having an integration with DMS systems, or is that not on your radar?
It definitely is on our radar. Again, we service a lot of smaller firms than in-house teams that use CLM, but we are definitely moving up market and seeing demand from some of our mid-market law firm customers for the DMS integration as well. So we think that will be coming down.
So as you continue to build out this library function, you mentioned some of the capabilities that are coming down the road. That's the timing on that is just kind of over the next, what do you say, 6 to 8 months or so? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah. I think we have another announcement in about 2 weeks on something else we're launching on top of the library. So it's going to be a pretty regular cadence of a number of different things. But yeah, I'd say really over the next 6 months, there's going to be maybe, around three or four different launches of things that are built on top of the library functionalities.
If somebody is already a customer of Spellbook, do they have to do something to get access to this, or how does it work?
Live for all customers now. So it's not a beta or alpha or anything like that. All Spellbook customers can access it today.
And so they can either they can either bring in a bunch of documents to Spellbook, or as you said, go against OneDrive or whatever, whatever you said. So, I guess the other thing I was thinking about as I was looking at this is there a way, or would customers want a way to kind of isolate certain documents? I mean, if they've got just a constant set of NDAs or whatever it might be, can
Mhm.
they just search against a specific set of documents in some way?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was definitely a big request from a lot of our customers, is to be able to have these. So you can have multiple libraries within Spellbook.
Yeah.
You can isolate them. You
Okay.
can also, tag them and filter them in different ways. So yes, the answer is yes. And that is really important, I think. We're also building in, functionality to be able to just filter by client. So maybe if you're a law firm, you just want to work on a specific client's history, and use that as a context for what you're doing. So that's something that we're working on as well.
Oh, interesting. I've been asking you a bunch of questions. Anything else that you'd like people to know about this new feature or about Spellbook?
Yeah. Well, one thing I think is interesting for your audience, maybe not specifically about this feature or about Spellbook, is like I think where we see AI going, and what is kind of happening with this personalization and memory as well. Again, we were one of the first companies to launch Gen AI tool, back in 2022. So we've tried to be, fairly ahead of the curve on, what's coming. And I think a really interesting trend that might be interesting, and you might have talked about on here already, is like when we first launched back in 2022, everyone was doing fine tuning back then. And the big thing was, we can fine tune a model on all of law, or fine tune it using Edgar to kind of make these models work better
Right.
on legal documents. But, it turned out to not be that effective. I think fine tuning turned out to be not that great a technique. The base models got a lot better. And there's still so much subjectivity and preference in all of legal work that, having a model tuned or trained on all of law, or, all contracts on Edgar, is just not that, not particularly useful to a lot of lawyers. So I'm an engineer. My background's in engineering. My co-founder is the lawyer of the team. So I spent a lot of time working on the product and the technology. And the big thing that has shifted for us is memory. If you've used ChatGPT, it now has memory integrated, and it's quite impressive how that can influence your results. And I think you're going to see a lot more kind of memory and personalization in legal tools. And that's something that we're going to be using a lot over time. So memory of all your deal history, a memory of, which suggestions you accepted versus what you rejected. And if you do memory really, really well, what we're seeing in our early tests is that the kind of accuracy or the acceptance rate by lawyers just goes way, way, way up. And, I think a product like Spellbook, like AI contract review, it's not, there's no such thing as a correct contract review. It's incredibly subjective. And we think about it more and more like it's almost like the YouTube recommendation algorithm. When you go on YouTube and you see videos recommended on the side, that's all based on what you've done in the past, and that those recommendations tend to be quite good. Whereas if I go on my wife's YouTube, maybe those videos don't resonate with me as much. I think contract review is very, very similar to that. And we're seeing like a huge step change in what we measure is acceptance rate. So how many of our suggestions that we provide to a lawyer on the review side, do they actually accept? And in early tests, we've seen, using these sort of preference techniques, memory, that we can drive a lawyer's suggestion acceptance rate from like 30% up to like 60%. So it's almost a doubling of how useful this technology is to them. So yeah, I think that's, very interesting trend that's happening because of these technological advancements with memory and RAG.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, the other topic that everybody is talking about these days is this idea of agentic AI. And you were on my podcast last year talking about agentic AI well before anybody was, well, not anybody, but well before most people were even talking about it.
Yeah.
What do you see? I mean, do you continue to see that as an important tool, and is that something you're continuing to develop?
Yeah, it's so that's been huge. So we were on the podcast talking about Spellbook Associate, which we had launched as one of the first kind of what we said was like a full-fledged autonomous agent for document drafting, particularly like multi-document transactional drafting. That is like our top seller right now, that has been adopted super fast. across our whole customer base. We've fully launched it for the most to our customers for the most part. We're going to actually be doing it kind of I don't know, kind of like a 2.0 launch in about maybe I shouldn't say this on here. Well, whatever. Inside info. We're going to be doing like a bigger kind of 2.0 launch of it in about a month. So with a new video showing some new demos. But yeah, it was about close to a year ago that we launched kind of the first version of it, and it's we've seen a lot of uptake. In fact, we're seeing the core Spellbook product is an add-in in Microsoft Word. Spellbook Associate sits outside of Word as sort of its own platform for multi-document drafting and review and document revision. We're seeing users actually using it even more than our initial product. So it's doing really, really well. And it's been a hard challenge to solve, this like agentic multi-document transactional drafting, but we've made a ton of progress on it. And our customers have been quite happy with the results. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of room to go with it. I will not pretend that agents are figured out in legal. I think we're still only at the early stages, figuring out how to get these agents to work on long-term task planning, long-term projects. It's going to take more work and new models and things like that, but we're definitely getting there.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a topic at Ilticon coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it was August 2024 that you were on my podcast talking about it. So it was just about a year ago.
Yeah. Time flies.
Well, yeah, time flies, and you're continuing to do a lot. Scott, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing this news. Really interesting. Congratulations on getting it launched, and I will continue to follow your ongoing developments and news. That's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or you can find us on YouTube at LawNext_PR. I'm Bob Ambrogi. Thanks for joining us today.